Mr. Speaker, this week we learned a little bit more about the health expense scandal. In addition to personal butlers and fancy dinners, senior AHS executives are allowed to expense private Medicare, leaving Albertans stuck holding the bill. Grant Ellison and Russell Coyne are two victims of this minister's two-tiered health system. Both men underwent spinal surgery after suffering injuries and had their surgical claims rejected. Both men contacted the health ministry and were turned away. To the health minister, it's time to start telling the truth. When are AHS executives getting paid access to private care when the Albertans like Grant and Russell are left holding the bill?
Mr. Speaker, I've got to take issue with the premise of the honourable member's question. Access to private health care is not a right or a benefit that is provided to Alberta Health Services or any other employees, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, if we want to talk about 2005 and we want to talk about the attitude of the Leader of the Opposition to privatization of health care, we can look at her words in the Calgary Herald. The sooner Canadians realize that privatization is a must, the sooner we can move on to the more crucial debate over how to refinance the system. What did she mean by that, Mr. Speaker?
Given that Russell Coyne, a hard-working Albertan with a young family, is suffering the financial burden of his surgery and he's been waiting over 10 months to hear back from the minister's office, will the minister commit to personally looking into Russell's file and compensating him for his surgical costs, even though he's not an AHS executive?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'd be pleased to look at any information that the honourable member wants to send to me on behalf of his constituent. What the honourable member hasn't mentioned is whether his constituent is seeking compensation through the out-of-country health services committee process or the appeal process associated with that. These decisions, Mr. Speaker, are not made by government. They are made by a quasi-judicial panel, and there's an appeal process. But I'd be pleased to look at the information if you'd like to send it.
I have a document here from back in June. You were fully aware of this for over a year now, Minister. To the same minister, given that Grant and Russell are both on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars after they were only compensated for anesthesia, and given that both men were facing paralysis, a lifelong debilitation, will you admit that something is wrong with this two-tiered system and that it's examples like these that truly undermine Alberta's confidence in the healthcare system?
Mr. Speaker, as much as I would certainly feel for the honourable member's constituents, this situation has nothing to do with two-tier health care. Decisions that are made on repayment for health services received out of country are made by a body independent of government, Mr. Speaker. The minister does not have the authority, and the honourable member knows this, to override the decisions of the committee or the appeal panel.